From the UC Health Training Center, welcome to Training Camp Live, powered by Ford. Brought to you by BetMGM, Bud Light, UC Health, and by U.S. Bank.
Following a trip to Empower Field on Saturday for practice, the Broncos are back at the familiar fields of UC Health Training Center. Only 5 days of camp remain. Can you believe it? Who will make that final big push to get themselves on the roster? Answering those questions and more will be Nick Ferguson, former Broncos safety. He's joining Steve Atwater down at 27 Hall of Fame Plaza. But welcome into the UC Health Training Center, everybody. This is Broncos Training Camp Live, powered by Ford. I'm Matt Boyer. Sidney Jones, Phil Milani, Steve Atwater, and former safety Nick Ferguson will be along in just a moment. A couple of quick notes on today's practice. The Broncos are expected to go about 2 hours. They're not in full pads, they're in shells, so shoulder pads, helmets, but no in shorts. So really it's going to look a lot like a regular season practice would at this point. The Broncos had the day off on Sunday, but the front office was busy adding a couple of players, most notably Mark Barron, the linebacker, the 9-year vet. Spent time with the Bucs, Rams, and Steelers prior to joining the Broncos. Played with Kareem Jackson as a safety at Alabama, won a couple of national titles with the Crimson Tide. He replaces Justin Strnad. Now, Barron has a skill set very similar to Strnad's, a coverage-type linebacker, so he should fill in very nicely in Strnad's absence. The Broncos also added Darren Paulo, a rookie college free agent out of Utah. He spent time with the New Orleans Saints during training camp, was cut, waived, and was awarded to the Broncos on Sunday. Broncos Country, we've been hearing from you guys all camp long. We miss you. It wasn't the same not seeing you guys out there at practice on Saturday at Empower Field, but we appreciate you tuning in each and every day. You've been crushing our live streams, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Make sure to reach out, especially if you're on Twitter. Use the hashtag Broncos Camp or reach out directly to Steve Atwater at Steve Atwater 27. Let us know where you're watching from. We've got viewers from all over the world. We love seeing those messages, so make sure to reach out again. The hashtag Broncos Camp or at Steve Atwater 27. And speaking of the Hall of Famer, let's head down now to 27 Hall of Fame Plaza, where Steve Atwater is standing by with a Broncos alum who is a big part of those Bronco defenses of the mid-2000s. Nick Ferguson is standing by with Steve. And Steve, those mid-2000s defenses, man, they had some pretty good DBs.
Oh, they had some awesome DBs. Champ Bailey, Nick Ferguson, a plethora of them. Nick, thanks for coming down and joining me, man. Thank you, man, for the introduction. Thanks
Appreciate it, man. This is great. You have an awesome setup here. This is a great day for football. It's football weather, but I see that you've come prepared with your
had to get the jacket on today,
light jacket
man.
on.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't complain about the cold. I just adapt to it to where I can be comfortable.
Well, you've adapted, well, my friend. So this is a nice setup. The only thing that is not great about it is that on the berm, we would normally have fans. And with only a couple of camp days remaining, it would be great for them to have been out here to see what's going on.
It is definitely odd looking up there and just not seeing fans just feel to the rim up there. And I know the fans, they miss not being here too. But hopefully we'll be back next year. We'll see how it goes.
Well, it'd be great, for things to get back to, normal and having the fans be a part of it because, during my playing days, that was the whole thing I loved about, training camp. No player likes training camp, but if you're going to be out here, you get your work in. But knowing as though the fans are out here, they're watching you, they're cheering for you. It's not like it's a game time situation, but it's great to have fans involved, and they're a huge part of our game.
I agree. And speaking of fans, there are also no fans at the stadium.
That's going to be wild, and I don't know how these players are going to handle that because the energy and the juice of the crowd for me was one of those things, Steve, that kept me going.
Right, but this Saturday, I can't say a scrimmage, but the practice that they had at the stadium.
Yeah.
No fans there, and as you know, we didn't look as crisp as we did. Well, I'll say offensively we didn't. Defensively, we looked really, really good. And
Right.
a lot of people are taking that angle on it versus saying that the offense is taking a step back. What does the defense play well? What's your take on that from Saturday?
Well, it was the same for me. The defense made a couple of plays. There were a couple guys in the secondary, Trey Marshall, Devontae Harris, took advantage of their opportunities.
Yeah.
And as a defender, I mean, you don't know where the quarterback is going to throw the ball, but if there's an error throw, you take advantage of it. And there were a couple of times when, you look at Jeff Driscoll, you look at Drew Lock, it didn't seem as though that they were on the same page with the wide receivers. And, I mean, there's a couple of things they definitely have to clean up. But, I mean, John Elway's done a great job of putting a great roster around the young quarterback. So if he can get on the same page, both he and Pat Sherman, the young wide receivers, it should be a real interesting year.
So have you ever been in a training camp where the offense dominated every day or the defense dominated every day?
No, it's never that way. It's always going to be a little give and take. One day the offense may dominate, then the next day the defense. But at the beginning of camp, it's always a defense that pretty much sets the tone because, if you have a lot of veteran guys who know what they're doing, then they can go out and they can execute. And usually at that stage, the whole playbook isn't in for the offense right away.
Yeah.
For the defense, some of the basic coverages that you're going to run, but once you start entering, play pass and all of that, it changes so much for the defense as far as what you have to be, you have to account for. So, it's always a give and take, but as a coach, and especially with Vic Fangio being a defensive-minded coach,
yeah,
you want to see your defense dominate more so than Pat Sherman's offense.
Yeah. So, Broncos Country, did you hear that? Do not panic. Don't need to panic.
No. That's Steve. You know what?
It's a part of the growing process, too.
It is. And you just have to understand you are changing playbooks and play callers from Rich Scangarello to that of Pat Sherman. And their offensive philosophies are a little different. The way they call plays are a little different. And as a player, having another playbook coming, getting used to those pre and post snap adjustments and the verbiage, it definitely takes some time. So hopefully by week 1 against the Titans, everything is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. And all I can ask my guess is, you play for several teams during your playing days. What was your process for learning different playbooks? I'm thinking about just like Mark Barron coming in, he's got to try and get in that playbook and learn it as quickly as possible. Jarrell Casey coming over, with Jerry Jeudy and all the young guys. What was your process for learning the playbook?
Well, it's trying to find some commonality in all the systems, right? From a defensive standpoint, in the secondary, you're only running a certain amount of coverage. Now, you can run combo coverages and things. That's when things get a little more complex. But it was trying to find something that I can relate to one defense and then I can apply it to another, case in point. So if you're running combo coverage and based on personnel groupings that the defense may change, I say, well, when I was with the Jets, we called it this. And this is how we adjust to it. Mm-hmm. So when I see it in the Broncos playbook, I look at it the same way. So when I hear the number, I just say, okay, well, this is how we played it at the Jets. So that's how it helps me move forward. Because
how did you switch the terminology, though? Because you're right. You're going to be doing basically the same thing.
Yes.
But it just called something different. How could you make when one place is Eagle 2, the next place is Hawk 4?
Right.
It's the exact same thing. How did you make that mental adjustment?
Because I used the words. So if you say one was Eagle and one was Hawk, okay, both are, birds. Okay, well, with the Jets, we call it Hawk. With the Denver Broncos, we call it Eagle. So, well, what are some of the subtle changes in the defense? And then I just kind of mesh them together that way.
Yeah.
So when I'm in practice, I'm like, okay, well, here is a two-man stack or a bunch, and this is the way that we played it there. Oh, we played the same way. So it's just trying to find some commonality between the systems that make it easy for you to learn.
Yeah.
It's basically, let me put it this way, concepts. Understanding the concepts, and that's how you can kind of dumb it down for yourself.
Okay. Good explanation. Now, we got rookies on the team. Every year we have rookies.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy, everybody knows he's going to be playing quite a bit. Now, what's the biggest adjustment that you had to make? You know, going from Georgia Tech, then played CFL for how many years?
3 years.
3 years CFL, and then to the NFL. Was it a jump going to each different level, and how did you make that adjustment?
Well, going from college to pros, whether it's the CFL or NFL, it's adjustment by itself, because we always talk about the speed of the game. And it's not just the foot speed of the game that's a huge issue. It is how quickly can you learn. Right. That is what most people don't talk about when we talk about the speed of the game. So adjusting is, you know, the number of plays that you have to constantly remember. And the changing of those plays may be, you know, on a daily basis or game-to-game basis. And in the CFL, it was just the size of the field. You know, here, the end zone.
You'd be in better shape?
Yeah, of course. Because in the CFL, you know, Steve, you have a 36-man roster. And that means 16 Americans, 16 Canadians, right? Not counting the quarterback. And that means is if you played in the secondary like I played, you were on every special teams. So the CFL actually prepared me from being able to cover on a wide field, but also being able to play defense and immediately go right to special teams, because when I came in the league, I broke in the league on special teams. And to my last year in the league playing with the Houston Texans, I was a starter, and I played on every single special teams. So the CFL definitely helped prepare for that. But if you're a rookie, you're coming in, I mean, you're just trying to learn the playbook. That first and foremost, that's the one thing you need to do. But it's such a big
difference, too, especially coming from college, because in college, you had to practice and you had schoolwork.
Right.
Now, it's just you go home and study your playbook. And you had to study your playbook in college.
Yeah, you had to. But, you know, here's the funny thing about that. And I have this conversation with a lot of people, because you think, okay, well, in school, you had to worry about what you just said. The football aspect and your requirements and responsibilities and academics as well. And you would think with all this time that you have when you're away from the facility, most guys will apply themselves and study their playbook.
Right.
But that's not true, Steve. There are a lot of guys who they did not study their playbook. And
how does that happen, though?
You know what? Because it's overconfidence. Well, I got the adjustments. I know what's going on. Some individuals are visual learners. They feel as though they can look at it, and sometimes when you look at it, now it sticks. But it doesn't work that way. You know, Coach Shanahan used to say this all the time, that you at least have to spend at least 20 minutes away from this facility going over your work as far as what you need to do, so when you come out from an adjustment standpoint. And I truly believe that, because we're professionals. And just because we're professionals, we don't know everything. And for me, my whole thing was, since I came to the league as an undrafted free agent, I had to know everything. I needed to know what the corner was doing, the linebackers, both safeties, because you never know. And football, and Mark Barron standing right in front of us.
4-2.
You never know when you may have to move from safety to linebacker in the game. And you've never practiced it before. So if you know how to do it, now.
You've had to do that before, where you've never practiced a position and moved?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yes, especially, you know, it didn't really happen, you know, here in the NFL a lot, but in the CFL, I mean, you have a limited roster.
Yeah.
You got 36 guys. Someone goes down. I mean, you can look in the stands and find someone, but most likely, you know, they're not going to be able to play.
Right. And
having to adjust. And that's how you know, have longevity in this game. And that's how I was able to have longevity, the more you can do.
Showing Alexander Johnson, Dino, or Dino. Is it Dino or Dino?
All I know is it's a T-Rex, right? Some kind of T-Rex.
Yes. Oh, I love it. With Todd Davis being injured there, we added Mark Barron. Man, what you think about Justin Hollins moving to the inside? I thought he would get, and I think he's still going to get a fair shake at it, you know, playing some at that position, especially with Todd Davis not being able to practice right now.
Well, I like it. I mean, last season they experimented with Justin Hollins at that linebacker position. It was not his natural position he played in college, but that's where you have to be able to adjust and be flexible, as they say in the NFL. And when you are that size, you're that athletic, then you have to expect that coaches are going to try to accentuate that talent and put you in a multitude of different positions. And knowing as though, the Broncos have had some issues covering tight ends. And you look at Justin Hollins, his size and his length and his athleticism, he definitely helps out. So a guy who can play a multitude of positions, now you're very valuable to the team, especially when you talk about contract time. Right? I can do a multitude of different things. Now, they're only going to pay you for one thing. but just the idea, the luxury is knowing for Coach Fangio, you have a guy in Justin Hollins who is smart enough to be able to adapt to play two different positions.
Right. Now, one Saturday, we all saw Bradley Chubb come off the field. Trainers looking at the knee. How concerned are you? I'm personally not concerned. I mean, I'm
mildly concerned.
A little bit.
Okay.
I want to make sure that he's good. But I know many times when you've had a surgery, you gotta ease back into it, and you're gonna have a little bit of setback, a little bit of pain, maybe some swelling as you're making the comeback. But I don't think that there's a need to panic.
Well, no, there's never a need to panic. But I mean, you just said it. When you have a guy who is as valuable to the team as Bradley Chubb is, and he's very important to Von Miller and what Coach Fangio wants to do defensively, it does raise an eyebrow when it is kind of your first practice scrimmage and he comes out. And as a guy who's had, 2 knee surgeries, I know what that's like because you're a little nervous. Mm-hmm. Right? You're a little timid because you don't want to set yourself back.
And I know I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I know every person, every player is different in this regard, but how long was it after you had your surgery that you really felt comfortable making plans, feeling like I'm good, I don't have to think about this anymore?
Well, Steve, it took me a while because initially they said it would take me 8 months to come back. So with the help of Rich Tootin, who was our strength and conditioning coach, I made it back in 6 months.
Wow.
Right?
What?
Well, yeah, I made it back in 6 months. And even though I made it back in 6 months, I knew that I still wasn't exactly 100%. But
was it your knee that wasn't 100% or your mind wasn't 100%?
It was both, right? It's both because, when you injured a certain area, and especially your knee, that's a huge part of what you do as a safety. And it's about trying to strengthen, the muscles around it so I can go out and be productive. And I knew I had an issue because our job is, backpedaling. And you have to make that transition. We call it click and close. So when I knew that coming out of my break, I didn't have that burst. Yeah. And it was a little kind of weak at certain points, I was a little concerned and I was a little, timid. And mentally, that's the thing you have to overcome. Yeah. Saying, okay.
Find yourself playing on the opposite foot most of the time?
Oh, absolutely. I learned to play and drive off the opposite leg. And what ended up happening is when we talk about surgery, that injured leg we call the involved leg, right? So the opposite leg became a lot stronger.
Yes.
And that was the challenge, to make sure that the leg I had surgery on, that I continue to build the strength in that. But mentally, it was a struggle. I was a little hesitant. Coach Shanahan could sense that, because I was very aggressive like you were as a tackler. And at first when I came back, I wasn't as aggressive. I would, run up to a play, then I would kind of stop for a little.
Yeah.
Right? Because I didn't want to have a setback. But, every player deals with that. And if you're Bradley Chubb, you're going to have that on your mind. But he'll get to a certain point in the season where it's going to be an afterthought.
Yeah.
So, and here's what it's going to take. For him to be in a situation where he falls on the ground or a guy tries to chop him and he gets up
and
doesn't feel anything. That's when he's going to go, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah. So, Mark Barron, inside linebacker, we talked a little bit about him earlier. What do you think we can expect from him? I mean, he's had a pretty good career so far. He was an early first-round draft pick back a while back by Tampa Bay. what do you think we can expect from Mark Barron?
Well, I can tell you what, man. I know linebacker coach Reggie Herring, he's going to love him. Because now you're talking about a guy who is very talented. See Ed Donatel right there.
Yes, Ed.
And you know he's probably thinking, okay, well, I have a guy who can play on the second level of my defense and my third level. How can I make the most out of his skill set? So here you have a guy, you know, he's not 240. He's about, 220, 225, and he's a smart guy. So for me now, you can use him in multiple ways. You can use him to match up on a lot of these speedy running backs in our division. Also, if you want a guy that is athletic and understands, blocking schemes, you can blitz him as well.
And when you say physical,
yes,
he is physical.
So you see, and it is something to know that both you and I were really physical in our time playing, but to hear you put it that way, talk about physical,
yes,
then you know he's definitely really physical.
Man, he's a hitter, boy.
Yes, and that's what you need, Steve. You need someone.
But can you do that nowadays? I mean, is that a plus nowadays?
Well, it is because now he's closer to the ball.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not. He won't have a lot of findable offenses because he's closer to the ball. Now you take, Mark Barron and put him 12 to 14 yards deep. Now we're talking about findable offenses, right? But because he's close to the ball, we're talking about faster anticipation, quicker reaction, and he gives a lot of versatility if you're Coach Fangio and Ed Donatel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really nice addition to the linebackers room there. I think it's made us better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? Here's why it's made the team so much better. You just kind of look at the level of talent within the division. There's a lot of versatility, and teams in the division did a great job adding talent. And you want to make sure when teams put out certain personnel groupings, you can actually go out and match up. And there was a shot earlier of Isaac Yadam, a guy who I'm looking forward to taking that next step, because if he can do that, just like Mark Barron, he adds another element to the secondary that can be utilized as well.
Yeah, I agree. And this is what, third year. This is time.
Yes, it's time.
Yep.
This is usually when teams and personnel guys say, well, listen, you were drafted in the third round out of Boston College. This is when we need you to elevate, your level of play. And it's great for him to have a guy like A.J. Boye, here playing the opposite corner. Mm-hmm. And I know when I played with Champ Bailey, every corner that played opposite him, they had no choice but to get better, because guess what? A lot of balls are coming your way. so you have yes, you have no choice.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
You have no choice.
Now, it's a battle between Isaac Yadam, Devontae Bosby, O.J. Moody. I think he's missed some time. He missed a little bit of time. I think that set him back a little bit. But there's some competition for that third cornerback position.
Yeah, I like that. And
I'm sorry.
You got Devontae Harrison there too. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the one thing I love about training camp and every single year. Obviously, you're fighting to keep a job, but that competition makes you so much better. And out of that group, I would give right now at this stage the top to Bosby. Bosby is a very aggressive guy. I mean, he's played in a couple of different leagues, and he understands the game. And this is where Isaac Yadam is going to have to be a pro and understand, okay, well, every single year you got to compete, and those guys are going to make me better. So every day I come out, I have to approach it as though this could be my last day. So did I go out and I make plays? I mean, because guys could go out and have, 20 reps, right? And people could say, well, you've had more reps than Bosby or Harris, but what did you do with those reps?
Right.
Because
you get better.
That's right. You have to impress the coaches on every single play. And if you only have 10 plays, 5 of those cannot be busts.
Right.
So, but I love the competition. It should make every guy, better. But it's going to be interesting to see how they put that together and who's the third and the second corner.
Now, we haven't talked much about Duke Dawson. Duke Dawson contributed some last year at the slot cornerback position, and I like Duke Dawson's game as well. what are his chances of making this team? Because he is another slot corner.
Well, looking at the slot corner position, I mean, Bryce Callahan, when the Broncos go to that nickel package, you have to figure that he's going to be in that position.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of, Duke Dawson making the team, I mean, he's really going to have to make it.
But do you need two of them? I mean.
Well, in today's NFL, yes, you need two. And you hope that you have a guy who can play both right and left corner and he can play in the slot, because that saves you a roster spot.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to at this point. Can Duke Dawson do more than just play special teams and just play the nickel position? If he can be, and he can prove that he can be a solid corner, that's how you solidify your spot on the field. But I like his game too. He's tough. He'll come down and he'll put his face in the fan, and he's not afraid to tackle. So he just has to find ways to separate himself from all the other guys, but he has to prove that he can be more than just a nickel.
Yeah. We're seeing the quarterbacks throw to the tight ends right now. Jeff Driscoll to Andrew Beck.
I was really impressed with Beck last season. I know he's kind of viewed as being maybe somewhat of a tight end fullback.
Yeah.
But the fact that he can catch the ball out of the backfield, he did some great things.
And he's a good blocker too.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to get dirty.
Right, and this is why I like Beck over Jano, right? And I don't have anything against Jano, but when Beck is in the game, you can utilize him in a multitude of different ways.
Yes.
It's not one of those things where Beck comes in and you think right away, okay, well, it's a run play. No, it can be a pass play, because he's shown that he has the ability to catch the ball and he can do things with it after the catch. So I like that.
Now, I know you probably feel like most of us are extremely excited about this tight end group. Now, which of the tight ends have impressed you the most so far?
Well, you know what? I don't want to seem like I'm a little biased here, but I guess I'm going to come off that way. I like Albert Okwuegbunam.
Oh, man, wow.
Well, yeah, I like him because, once again, football is about, chemistry. And the fact that, Albert O has chemistry and familiarity with Drew Lock and vice versa.
Right.
And I said this, Steve, that don't be surprised if Noah Fant has more receptions, but Albert Okwuegbunam has more red zone touchdowns. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about a bigger body guy, and I know in the practice on Saturday it didn't really look that way because he had a couple of balls come off of his hands, but he strikes me as a guy that takes that as a challenge.
Oh, man.
And I know that Drew talked to him and say, hey, listen, relax. We've done this before. This is nothing new to you. You just know the game plan. I know you well.
I'm trying to figure out, is this me talking or is this you talking? Because it's the same thing I feel.
Really? Well, see, they say great minds, think alike. And because we're safeties and we've covered the tight end position, we know what it's like to cover those guys, and we know what makes it difficult for us.
And then thinking about in the red zone, if they're running 12 personnel with Noah Fant and Albert O in the game, oh my goodness, who you gonna cover?
No, you don't know, but let's turn that volume up just a little. How about 13 personnel, right? And you put Dick Burnett out there, right? So now the defense thinks it's a running formation.
Yes.
And then now you kind of spread out your tight ends. And because they're bigger bodies, all they have to do is run 5 yards, turn around, and post you up. That's a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah.
So as a defensive coordinator, okay, normally you're going to put your short yardage goal line on the field. And you take advantage of that because that's why you have big athletic guys. So that's why I like the personnel that's been assembled.
Yeah, I love it too. And Drew Lock, he loves it.
Yes, yes. As a quarterback, you would love the fact to say, well, you know what? I have a plethora of offensive weapons. Who am I going to throw to on this down?
Right.
Just think about it. That's lovely.
Now that wide receiver room, we got a lot of competition out there too. I mean, Deshaun Hamilton, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. We got a couple injuries there. Tim Patrick back on the field with us. KJ Hamler, I think he's still
that hamstring.
Yeah, the hamstring's still an issue right now. Deontay Spencer,
Well, I like Spencer. Spencer is a CFL guy, so he used to dealing with a lot of space. And I talked to one of my former coaches who were in the CFL, and he said, man, Spencer is a great kid, and he gave them problems, trying to game plan for him. Mm-hmm. So he's one of those players that you get him the ball in space, he knows what to do with it. But yeah, that wide receiver room is going to be interesting to see, which guys, make the team and fighting for those last roster spots. But that's the thing that makes, once again, training camp great. And, Tim Patrick, I like Tim Patrick, a big guy. And I don't know if you see it like this, Steve. I would like to see with KJ Hamler being out, you put Jerry Jeudy in the slot, and you have two big wide receivers outside with Cortland Sutton, and now you can bring Deshaun Hamilton in too if you want to, if he starts to build confidence. But Tim Patrick could be your other wide receiver, outside. Last year in Scangarella's offense, he showed that he could do a multitude of different things. He can catch the ball, and last season Minnesota, he actually threw a pass to Cortland Sutton, right, which was highly unexpected. But that's what you have to do when you try to
do it to him.
Oh, what? Either way, it just shows the talent that you have on this team. And if Pat Shurmur, put these guys in position and just kind of utilize their skill set, it could be something special.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be a beautiful thing. And Juwan Winfrey, I'm not sure if he's practicing yet, but he was in the tank, and he's another guy young guy, ton of talent, but he got to be on the field.
Well,
this is the thing with young guys, especially this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make the club in the tub. That's the old saying we used to have.
Yeah, very true. No, you can't. And, the problem sometimes, Steve, and I would just kind of say it's due to not having a true off-season program that you worry about those soft tissue injuries. Once you get those soft tissue injuries, sometimes there's a tendency that they can actually linger, and they happen a lot for those really fast guys, having those injuries. But this, with KJ Hamler being out and Juwan Winfrey, it allows guys like Fred Brown and Trinity Benson to now get some more run and develop as a wide receiver. So that should make that room for Zach Azzani somewhat better.
Yeah, and this year, all 32 teams will be able to carry 16 players on the practice squad. 16, 6 of which can be veteran players.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. I'm glad that the league finally did that, because not just due to the whole COVID situation, but it gives guys more opportunity to develop, because right now the NFL doesn't have a developmental league.
Yeah. So
if you can keep both veteran guys and guys who you feel as though they're fringe players and all they needs some more playing time, then that would definitely help them out.
Yeah, well said. We're going to toss it over to Matt Boyer, standing up with another great view up on the balcony. Over to you, Matt.
Thank you very much, Steve. At the top of the show, we mentioned at Broncos Country, this practice is going to look a lot like a regular season practice. So the Broncos right now going through their installs on defense and offense for week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. So in order to avoid ending up on Mike Vrabel's hard drive in Nashville before week 1, we're not going to be able to show you a lot of the highlights that we typically would at the beginning of training camp. However, we do have some great highlights from this past weekend, Saturday's practice at Empower Field at Mile High. It was a beautiful Saturday. I take it back. It was a bit of a rainy Saturday, but nevertheless, some great plays to be had. First time at Empower Field for a lot of guys, including Jerry Judy's first catch on home turf, a nice catch in between 2 defenders, and then the bobbling catch on Bryce Callahan. Head coach Vic Fangio said the offense wasn't as consistent as he would have wanted it. Justin Simmons there making the pick, and Trey Marshall, a guy that we haven't really talked about a ton, but he also made a very nice play there on Albert Okwuegbunam. The defensive side of the football playing very, very nicely, which is what Coach Vic Fangio said he wanted to see, but the offense still had a bit of room to pick things up. Speaking of the defense, we've been talking about the defensive line all training camp long. Guys like Mike Purcell, Shelby Harris, Jarrell Casey. So who better to talk with today than defensive line coach Bill Kolar? He caught up with Phil Milani before practice.
Matt, thank you very much. Bill, a couple of new faces along the defensive line this year. What did you think of the addition of Jarrell Casey so far?
Oh, definitely doing a good job. He's a hard worker and stuff, helping the young guys out and stuff. We're pleased that we have him.
A veteran presence there. I mean, filling some big shoes with Derek Wolfe, but he seems up to the task.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's obviously played a lot of football over the years with the Titans and stuff, and, we hope he's able to end up doing that for a few more years with us.
How about a younger guy like Draymond Jones? Seemed like he came on at the end of last year. What does he need to do to take the next step?
He's looking real good right now. Really pleased with the way Dre is, working his stuff. He's playing stronger in the run game and has real good quickness for the pass rush, so really pleased with the way he's been going so far.
You're one of the most vocal coaches out here. We can hear you from everywhere. Where does that passion come from, Bill?
Oh, I just think, years ago when I played down in Tampa, I played for Abe Gibran. Used to be the head coach with Chicago Bears and stuff, and he was sort of like that, and I sort of got his style, and I'm sort of loud anyhow the way I end up talking, and it's just carried over into the coaching for the last 40-something years.
And this time every year you get that re-energized like that?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. Really still enjoy it and stuff, and hope be able to do it for a few more years.
Bill, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
All right, you bet. See you guys later.
Let's send things over to Cindy Jones.
Thanks for that, Phil. Now, Broncos fans, if you're just now tuning in, we are doing social media giveaways on our live show every single day. And today it's time to announce the winner from Friday's live show, And the prize for that is a signed football of Steve Atwater and Von Miller. And the lucky winner of that is Paul Welch. Congratulations, Paul. Now, Broncos fans, if you haven't won yet, no worries, because like I said, we'll be doing a prize giveaway on our show every single day. And today's prize is this signed football by Steve Atwater and Nick Ferguson. And if you want to be selected for this prize, you must be following the Broncos on Twitter, and then you must go and retweet the post about this prize. We'll be announcing the winner on tomorrow's live show, so make sure to tune in again. And also, Broncos fans, another way to be featured on our live show is to tweet at us using the hashtag Broncos Camp. We'll be featuring those tweets throughout the rest of camp, so make sure to be on the lookout for those. With just a few days left in training camp, we were able to check in with AJ Boye. He detailed some of his camp experiences so far and what it's like building chemistry with the rest of the DBs.
Hey, I'm AJ Boye. Chemistry is great. Kareem, Justin, Bryce, those are big guys. Off the field, even they're always checking on me, seeing how I'm doing, how I'm getting adjusted. They're always helping me out with the playbooks, so things have just been moving smoothly with that, and I'm very appreciative. My normal routine, really a couple days before camp starts, I just make sure my body's doing a lot of stretching, deep tissue things, and then just a lot of conditioning. And usually during camp, the main thing I do is just like cold tub, always working on my body when we have time, just to stay 100%. We basically had 2 days off, so we were just trying to pick back up when we left. A lot to learn out there, but we still have fun and made the best of it.
Now, that was just a snippet of his interview. If you want to check out the whole thing, you can find it on denverbroncos.com and our social media channels. Now, on Saturday, the players were back at Empower Field at Mile High, and we had the opportunity of wiring up the Colorado kid himself, Philip Lindsay. Take a listen to how much he's going to miss all of you for Game 1.
I'm Mike today, baby. Hometown. I wish the fans was here. They make this stadium. They make all this happen. So hopefully soon. They need to get here soon.
It seems like there's people here.
I know, for real, because they got like the little crowd music going.
Yeah.
They still got some of the crowd in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's Big Daddy Field. Let's go. Let's work today. Let's communicate. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Did you give me a tackle yet? You didn't tackle me on me yet.
I had the TFL the first one.
Yes, they do.
On what? Ooh. 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 Ooh, 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 ooh.
Now, I know all of you can't attend training camp in person this year and aren't able to see some of your favorite players like Phillip Lindsay, but you all are doing a great job welcoming the guys out onto the field every single day on our virtual fan cam. Take a listen to what you all had to say this morning.
It's go time, baby. Go time.
Go Broncos!
Now, with COVID-19 this year, the Broncos annual 7K will be happening virtually, and that'll take place this Labor Day weekend. All participants can either run or walk their own 7K anywhere in Broncos Country territory. If you want more information on that and to learn how to register, you can visit broncos7k.com, and all of the proceeds will be benefiting the Broncos charity's COVID-19 relief efforts. All right, Broncos fans, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, you'll be joined again by Steve Atwater and Nick Ferguson.
Training Camp Live, powered by Ford, is brought to you by All Copy, Empower Retirement, King Supers, and FanDuel.
All right, welcome back to Training Camp Live, powered by Ford. A special guest today, Mr. Nick Ferguson.
Yes, sir.
Fellow safety, fellow comrade.
Yeah, man, it's interesting, man, Steve, that we played a position that has somewhat evolved from when we were playing, right? It is a position that at first when we were playing, it was deemed, okay, well, you can stick anyone back there and they'll be able to get the job done, and that's when the league wasn't paying safeties an enormous amount of money. Mm-hmm. But with the emergence of the tight end position, safeties are now starting to be valued like corners, and that's the only thing I wish I can go back in the bottom because they're paying guys more money now than they paid when we were playing.
Yeah, well, that's around the league though. Every position is paying more, but yeah, safeties, yeah, their value has jumped up quite a bit though. They're some of the higher paid players on the team. Valuable
Assets, especially if you're a smart guy that you can play a multitude of different positions and you play it well. I mean, you can earn a nice living.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when I came in the league, I came in and I felt a little uncomfortable because I earned more money than some of the veterans on the team.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just how it goes. Kind of where you're drafted at, you get paid a certain amount of money, and it's just a part of the NFL. So I'm extremely happy for the guys. I'm glad they're making the money that they're making. Hopefully they're putting it away and won't have any issues.
But see, that's the thing that is so important. Are they putting it away? Because you and I know that players make an enormous amount of money, but they don't always take care of it. So I hope guys are smarter. They're learning from previous experience from other guys. But this is a great time to be a safety in this league, and it's a great time
what
to be a
position that's a starter isn't a good paying position right now? I mean, all of them are.
Well, yeah, you have that, but there's some that pay much better than others. Just like, for instance, being a starter quarterback in the NFL, right? I mean, that salary doesn't compare to maybe a three technique or a nose tackle or whatever, or a linebacker who's on the second team. No, I mean, that premium position will always be the quarterback because it is, for people say it's a quarterback-driven league. I don't like to look at it that way, Steve, because quarterbacks can't win games by themselves.
No, you're right.
They can't.
You're right. You got to have a squad around them.
That's right.
But without a good quarterback, you don't have a chance to win.
Well, yeah. It makes things that much more difficult to actually go out and win games. So it's all about having a smart, competent quarterback that doesn't make mistakes.
Right.
That's how you win football games.
Right. What did you think about Jeff Driscoll and Brett Rippon from Saturday scrimmage?
Well, with Rippon, I mean, he didn't get a lot of reps, and, the first couple reps were a lot of handoffs, so you didn't really get a chance to see him throw a lot. But that's kind of anticipated. You want to get both Drew Lock and Jeff Driscoll, ready, and that's where the bulk of the reps are going to go. With Driscoll, I mean, he had a couple of, throws that were not on target.
Let me say this. Why don't we say throughout camp? Because I won't say Saturday, because Saturday, I don't think many people on the offense did great on offense.
Right.
We didn't have a good day on offense. Just overall for the camp, what do you think about both?
Well, Driscoll's made some nice throws, and a lot of those throws obviously came to Jerry Jeudy. It's just like that's what I'm saying. The quarterbacks don't do it all by themselves, and Jeudy makes any quarterback look good. And not trying to take away from Jeff Driscoll, but it is working on that timing with the quarterback and the wide receivers, and that seems to be his go-to wide receiver when they're in and practice together. So you just want to see quarterbacks start to have a little progress and see that they have actually taken what they've learned in the classroom and they can bring it out to the field and actually show the offensive coordinator that now we can start stacking days. We can now start adding more plays, because now you're showing that you have a full command of the playbook. But as always, Steve, you're never perfect. You're never going to have a perfect game or perfect practice. You just want to make sure you continue to build on days where you are not your best.
So what kind of guy are you when you're on a team, you got offensive weapons? Do you say give it to the top guy on the team, or do you want to see him spread the ball around? Is there somebody say Cortland's having a hot hand?
Yeah.
Are you the type of person who's watching TV? Get the ball to Cortland. Or are you saying get it around to everybody? What do you say?
Well, I'm a spread the ball around type of guy, because when you're only fixated on getting the ball to one guy,
sometimes you're hot though.
Well,
you're hot.
I get that, but then you help the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Because he knows exactly.
Sometimes defenses don't make adjustments.
Well, you know what? And those individuals who don't make adjustments, they lose games and you get fired, right? But the idea is spread the ball around. You have all this talent, for a reason. You want to make sure the defense can't hone in on one particular player. You want to keep them guessing. Give them different formation, groupings and different personnels and do different things. And you don't want to be just a gadget offense, because if you become a gadget and gimmicky offense, that means you don't have great players. But you want to be able to mix some of those plays in. But the whole thing, when you look at it, Steve, it's making the defense defend both on a horizontal plane and a vertical plane, so they have no idea what's coming.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you've been on teams where you may have had a cornerback or another position where it was a weakness, and the other team, hey, look, we're going at it.
They found it. Yes.
Did you try to lean to help that position out, or how did you handle that when you think, oh, man, they about to throw it over here again?
Well, if I knew that someone was struggling, or they didn't necessarily have to be struggling, if you're playing opposite Champ Bailey, then I know that you're going to get a lot of the balls tossed your way. So pre-snap, you just lean on maybe that near hash, knowing as though you have to get to the middle of the field, because you're just trying to show, something pre-snap to the quarterback to know, okay, well, you can't throw this backside slant to this single receiver because I'm sitting in this window, so I wouldn't want you to go to, another read. And that's why, disguising and making quarterbacks, even seasoned veterans, make them guess, make them, earn their paycheck. Don't make it easy for them, because I see a lot of guys, coaches try to tell them, even though you're playing zone, make it look like man. But some of those guys that get a little nervous and try to bail out, now the quarterback knows where that open window. Yep. So it's just like make him think, hold in there. And, I learned a little something in my time playing against, Peyton Manning. Peyton would go through his gyrations, but he also would look at that clock that's behind you defensively. So while he's doing all that, he's making you move around in a position where he can be successful, but now you're showing him what he needs to see, so he knows where he wants to go with the ball. Hold that look. until like 2 seconds and then, rotate and drop down into the box because now he's got to think because the defense has changed from what it was when he first looked at it to when the ball was snapped.
Yeah, and I'm with you 100%. And I say it makes covering as a safety. If you have to cover a tight end or if just say you have a blitz called and you're covering a receiver, why would you show it early?
Yeah, you know what? That is the thing that it upset me as a player. It upsets me now as a fan. And when I was, coaching with the 49ers, it definitely would upset me. And you're sitting in the box and you know what the defense calls for. Why show a guy like Aaron Rodgers before the snap where he can go with the ball?
And not only that, many times, just say it's the receiver or the tight end that you're covering, you can just act like you're playing cover two, and they'll think that a linebacker is covering them, and they won't do any moves. They'll just show you what route they're running, and you just jump it.
You know what, Steve? Here's one thing I used to love, and rarely that it happened because, Larry Corey, our defensive coordinator, when I played here, he would blitz John more than he would blitz me, but I would actually go down and what I call a choke alignment on the tight end and line up right on him. And if there was a play where he may have blocked out on an outside linebacker, now I can shoot the gap. But it's all about, disguising things and setting up the next play. So it can be frustrating when you see a guy give up the coverage pre-snap when all the 10 guys are doing the right thing, but he gets a little nervous and starts to panic.
Yep.
I hate that.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the running backs.
Yes.
Melvin Gordon back on the practice field now. Happy to see that. That's been the thing with him with the Chargers is he wasn't able to stay healthy, and he got into, a big competition at the running back position, and the Chargers decided to go a different route.
Right.
How important is it that Melvin Gordon stay healthy this season? Well, I know everybody knows it's important for us to do well.
Right.
I think. But how big of a deal is that?
It is. It's a huge deal because, here's a guy you brought to the team, and you brought him here based on his size and being able to grind out some of those tough yards. And you want to use his skill set maybe in, the 4-minute drill where you're trying to play keep away and trying to secure that victory. But if he's not out there on the field, then it's kind of like a waste of talent. You have the body, he has the skill set, but you can't go out there and utilize it. So it can become really frustrating, and that's been the biggest issue with, Melvin Gordon is the fact that can he stay healthy in 16 weeks? And playing that running back position, a position that guys take a humongous pounding, that is a huge concern. And when you look at how Pat Sherman's trying to run this offense, he's going to be a key cog in it, right? And if he's not, then that means that you have to keep, multiple backs available. The Bellamy kid sort of built like, Philip Lindsay. If Melvin Gordon can't stay healthy, now you have to rely on him. And then Royce Freeman, another back who he's a big bruising back, but the best thing about Royce is you can flex him out and you can get him matched up on a linebacker or maybe even a corner because, you don't really have that many good route running backs in this league. And that skill set that Royce Freeman has as a route running back, it could serve well for both Drew Lock and Pat Sherman.
Yeah, I didn't think Royce last year was as good as he is this year at running routes. I think he's improved. I think he's worked on it.
Well, you have to. It's called necessity, right? Either I become better at something I was in the previous year, or they bring someone in and I lose my job. So, but that is the idea of competition. And if Royce can do that consistently, he definitely not only solidifies a position on his team, but it now builds the confidence in Pat Sherman that he can put him out on the field and he can execute.
So how many running backs do you think we'll keep?
Well, on the active roster, you got to keep 3. So Bellamy is a guy who I feel may end up on practice squad. If the Broncos choose to keep 4 guys up, that means that Bellamy would have to play on special teams. But I expect you got to keep 4 running backs because it's going to be a physical, grinding season.
Well, Nick, it's been real. I really appreciate you coming out, spending the day with me, spending the morning with me.
Yes, sir.
So tell our listeners and our viewers, what are you up to? How can they reach you?
Well, you can reach me either on Instagram and Twitter at Nick Ferguson _ 25. And every day you can find me 7 to 10 on 104.3 The Fan on the Nick and Sisu show. Great show.
Yeah,
Talk everything about sports. So that's where you can find me. I'm open. I'm not always right, and I'll never I would never claim to be right. But I would love to engage with Broncos Country. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Nick, appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, Matt Boyer, over to you.
Thank you very much, Steve. If you want to get caught up on anything you might have missed today, Broncos Country, head to denverbroncos.com or our Denver Broncos social channels. After today's practice, we're expected to hear from the newest Denver Bronco, Mark Barron. So go to our social channels or the website for the full press conference. And, of course, tonight we are recapping everything that you saw today, 6:30 p.m. on Channel 20, Training Camp tonight. Alexis Perry has that coverage, 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel as well. And we've been talking about it all training camp long, the Thrilogy. The Thrilogy is, of course, the Broncos training camp. There it is. The Broncos' 3 games that led to their 2015 championship run. We've gotten through 2. All that's left is Super Bowl 50. That is on Thursday, September 3rd. Go to your local listings for full details. We're going to be on in Denver, Grand Junction, and Colorado Springs. KOA also has the simulcast again. That is Thursday, September 3rd, coming up quick. And then, of course, we're back tomorrow. Broncos Training Camp Live, powered by Ford. Steve Atwater has Simon Fletcher, a Ring of Famer, coming to the stage for Broncos Training Camp Live. Again, 9:15 a.m. Be sure to check the website and our social channels for the latest updates as far as timing with regards to today's practice. That'll do it for us on Broncos Training Camp Live. Special thanks to Nick Ferguson, Steve Atwater, Sidney Jones, and Phil Milani. I'm Matt Boyer. Thank you so much for watching Broncos Country. We will see you again tomorrow.
Training Camp Live, powered by Ford, has been brought to you by Betfred, Bud Light Seltzer, Ford, and by USAA.